Fuck movies.
Next summer, nature's most terrifying creature takes on an all-new dimension in an all-new adventure. And for the first time, the terror of Jaws will not stop at the edge of the screen. Jaws 3D. The third dimension is terror.
I'm guessing more people know about the terribleness of Jaws 4 than Jaws 3, because Jaws 3 is kind of forgettable.
Yeah, like there are instances
not entirely, but
yeah, there are instances of like just the technical aspects that are so monumentally just half-assed and cheap that I can't believe a studio like produced this, let alone one of the sequels to the best movie ever made.
You let any of this footage out. I mean, there's some images of the shark in this movie that are just embarrassing. And the weirdest thing is, this one's directed by the production designer on the first two movies.
Yeah.
So, like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have many issues with Jaws 2, but I mean, the production design, you know, it's there's nothing wrong with it. It's on par with the first one. I mean, everything.
I guess other than the shark in Jaws 2 did not look good.
Okay, yeah, the shark doesn't look good, but everything else still feels like the same place.
But the shark in Jaws 2 at least moved better. This one, when the shark doesn't even open and close its jaws, really. It's just its upper lip kind of flexes. It's really bizarre that was the choice they made.
Well, hello. Welcome to the Waffle Press Movie Podcast. I am your host, Diego Crespo.
Did we not start? I'm sorry, I was already going in on it.
No, I just realized, I should probably do the intro and then go do the intro for what the movie's about, because I like the concept for a Bee Monster movie. I like it a lot. But yeah, I'm Diego Crespo. With me today to help continue the Jaws retrospective is Matt Guringo. Matt, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I just won a trip to SeaWorld. I hope they don't do horrible things to their animals, and some documentary maybe exposed all that.
Yeah, that's a whole. Actually, no, that totally ties in. This movie portrays SeaWorld as very irresponsible, which is surprisingly, I think, appropriate.
Yeah. Well, the best is Dennis Quaid in this movie. That's who it is, right? Is it Dennis or Randy Quaid?
It's Dennis Quaid, yeah.
Okay, Dennis Quaid in this movie. He's always talking about he's got this promotion to another marine place in Venezuela. But he also doesn't know that orcas aren't fish. He has to be corrected on this fact. So that's also but it's also a very accurate example of how bad the workers at SeaWorld are.
I got a promotion. Oh, that's not the right species, buddy.
Yeah. He's treated like he's this huge expert, but he doesn't but then at the same time, it's like they had two different characters where he was supposed to be the everyman who doesn't know this stuff, but also be the scientist. So they fucked it up.
That sort of haphazard creativity that kind of sinks this and another movie I want to bring up, because they're really similar in their presentation, if not execution. They have very similar ideas, and I'll get into it in a second, but just a quick synopsis of Jaws 3. It's a 3D movie based around shocking the audience with a 3D shark attack stuff, which could be kind of cool, for a Bee Monster movie type thing. Did you ever watch My Bloody Valentine in 3D? It was
No, I did not.
Okay, the 3D on that movie is pretty good. The movie's whatever, but the 3D is pretty good. And if you're gonna just make a generic horror movie that's gonna fill up the box office for a couple weeks, I mean, why not at least get a little fun with it, And it's kind of unfortunate that Jaws 3 doesn't even fit that bill.
Yeah, no, the 3D in this is really reaching. There's a part where they just zoom in on a reed that's kind of pointing at the camera, and they're like, 3D.
or when Dennis Quaid shoots the harpoon and it's directly like it's not even framed like that well. It's just him in the center of the screen. He shoots down, and then you can tell because you don't watch it in 3D. No one watches it in 3D anymore because no one watches Jaws 3 unless they're talking about how bad it is.
Yeah.
But you can tell like, okay, that's supposed to come at you, but given like the trajectory, I can't imagine watching that on the big screen and seeing it come directly at you. It looks like it just kind of goes down. So
Yeah.
it's not like even set up well.
There's no way 90% of these effects worked.
Yeah.
Most of them are pretty bad. And directors, I mean, only recently, I would argue, directors have really figured out how to actually shoot 3D in like interesting ways, and it took like completely changing the technology. I can't imagine going back to the day where it was the red and blue glasses and trying to watch this fucking thing. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about Avatar. I'm not the biggest fan. I don't hate it, but James Cameron pushed that technology forward in a big way, and watching it on the big screen, it did feel like a legitimate theatrical experience for all its bumps and bruises and flaws.
Yeah, no, you felt like you were there. And I saw Avatar on oxycodone, so I had just gotten out of the hospital and was like, whoa. So that was a lot of fun. I recommend that. If you go to 3D movies, see it on oxycodone and contribute to the opioid crisis in America.
I can't condone that, but I won't stop you.
Well, I want to point out one thing is that I watched a supposedly HD version of this movie the other night, and I think the 3D fucked up any attempts to like make the movie truly HD because like it made half the shots blurry. Like either the foreground or the background was blurry at times, and it was a really bizarre experience. So the 3D is fucked up, even making the movie watchable today.
I want to get into another movie that I think it's very similar to, given the idea, because I really like the idea of a theme park and a monsters running loose around it. Another movie that did that recently is your favorite movie, Jurassic World. And before we start talking fully about Jurassic World and comparing it to Jaws 3, I want to talk about regret and redemption, hopefully. Because when I first saw Jurassic World, I liked it quite a bit. This is the last like half hour, anyways. I'm really into.
What the fuck, man?
So when the dinosaurs are just doing dumb cartoon shit, I was totally into it. And I even wrote and published a positive review of it. And on rewatches, the stuff I like, I still kind of like. Everything else is borderline incompetent. And no, it is incompetent.
It is incompetent.
And they, as a slasher movie, it's not even that thrilling. I still like the idea of like a company like just fucking shit up and like fucking up an entire community just because they want to profit off of like a monster and like, oh, this will attract people. Like Jaws 3, there's a different situation. The shark just gets loose in the place. But I think that's such an idea, like a ripe idea for some sort of like horror satire movie that hasn't really been nailed yet. So I want people to keep trying it. I just don't want it. I don't recommend.
Well, doesn't that movie already exist and it's called Jurassic Park?
Yeah,
I mean, I get the park isn't fully open in Jurassic Park, but that's basically.
Well, Jurassic Park's not dumb. I mean, a movie that's kind of dumb along the way. Jurassic Park is legitimately genius, and it's a very, very high bar.
Well, for comparison, I walked out of Jurassic World with like 30 minutes left in it. I couldn't watch it anymore. It is truly one of the worst film-going experiences of my adult life. So I don't know what the fuck you people saw in it, even like drunk. But like all these fucking friends were like, no, it's actually good. And I never text during a movie, but during Jurassic World, I had to text my friend and just went like, when does this get good? And it never did. It never did. Ugh.
and they're both shot really flat.
Yeah.
There's nothing striking about any of the imagery, but just the way the picture feels, it doesn't feel like you're watching a movie. It feels like you're watching B-roll footage more than anything.
Yeah, really.
And I don't I
It's
don't know
honestly
why these movies.
debatable as to which movie's better visually. I mean, they're
Um,
they're basically on par, which is
I
shocking.
I would say Jurassic World for like a few moments in the finale that are at least
Yeah, when the
change things
special
up.
effects team took over.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, special effects artists who get no credit and are underpaid make the
Those
most
guys.
dynamic shots in some action movies these days. And then they get criticized because the movie's so poorly plotted that when it gets to the big dumb action scene at the end, everyone goes stupid special effects instead of stupid director, writer, and studio head. Fuck movies.
So what do you think happened with Jaws 3 or Jaws 3D, as
Well,
it were?
well, do you know that it originally was supposed to be a comedy?
That makes a lot of sense.
Uh,
Actually, here, finish up, but that ties back into the Jurassic World thing because there's a really consistent defense I've heard about it, where if people compare it to like a Joe Dante type movie.
oh, fuck those people. Jesus Christ, how dare you? What the fuck? If someone said that to me, I would beat them to death with whatever I had at hand. Good Lord. Fucking people. Joe Dante made some of the best fucking 80s films ever. God damn it. What the fuck?
Okay, well, before I go back into that, it was going to be a comedy.
Yes, yes. And actually, I think Joe Dante was supposed to direct it at one point.
Whoa.
Well, Joe Dante did Piranha, which is kind of a comedic version of Jaws. Like, there's a lot of Joe Dante humor in it, even though it's more of a horror film. Um, and they Animal House was a big hit, and so they contacted National Lampoon to help try and write a Jaws 3, and it was going to be called Jaws 3 People Zero. And I mean, like, there's hope that it could have been really good, like a really funny, like, kind of parody of Jaws and like this what it spawned. But like, there's also like dozens of National Lampoon movies that we don't remember. Like, there's Animal House and Vacation, and that's kind of it. So who knows? The producers of the original Jaws wanted to do the comedy, and then the studio head said no. Well, actually, there's debate as to who shut it down. It was either the studio felt that doing a comedy would kill franchise potential, or Spielberg was insulted by the notion of a comedy, and so he kind of just played his hand and shut it down. But I don't think the Spielberg part's true. I know Spielberg plays a role later in this franchise's history, but we'll get to that. So yeah, it was a comedy at one point. That didn't pan out. They then brought in Richard Matheson, of all people, to write the script, to be set at SeaWorld. And Richard Matheson, I think it's actually a quote from him where he said that they changed the script and made it really dumb, but even his original version was really dumb because the studio was making all sorts of demands. And Richard Matheson, for people who don't know, he wrote the book I Am Legend. He wrote some of the best Twilight Zone episodes. He wrote Duel. He's a great short story writer and screenwriter.
Yeah, I Am Legend is actually my favorite book. So I
yeah,
didn't know some of this. This is super exciting to me.
Yeah, Richard Matheson, I Am Legend's a great fucking book. If you only know the Will Smith movie, please read the book. But he was forced to write a role that was exclusively for Mickey Rooney. And then Mickey Rooney dropped out, and so the role was entirely pointless because it was like literally just written for Mickey Rooney. At some point, his script got rewritten by Carl Gottlieb, who did the first script and the second script, and I guess they just kept bringing him back every time they had script trouble. And I guess it was rewritten by a lot of people. Richard Madison says that the movie barely resembles his original script. So that's a bit of the production history.
It doesn't seem as troubled as Jaws 2.
No, well, that's partly because, I mean, part of the reason for setting this movie in SeaWorld was that they wanted an easier to control location. Because they basically ran into all the same problems with the mechanical shark on Jaws 2 that they did in Jaws 1. And so the studio was like, fuck it, don't film in the ocean anymore. Like, let's find a place where we can, control the water. So it's like, hey, SeaWorld wants to do a promotional tie-in for some reason. Let's set it there.
It is a fun. I still stick to the fun B movie like setup, but my God, the movie doesn't deliver on it like at all.
Well, one of the big anchors holding this film down, which even Richard Matheson commented on, was that the studio forced the inclusion of the Brody children, which doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are they related to, like, why do they feel the need to connect it to the original films like that? Like, there's one line in this where he mentions that his father dealt with a shark, and that's about it. And Sean kind of has a fear of the water, which is also completely contradicted by the next movie. But we'll get to that.
It is absurdly terrible in Jaws 4, and it is completely unnecessary in this one. It is. It's not like it would have made it much better if it had just been like a standalone side story. Like if this was Jaws' Tokyo Drift, or like no one else is in it except for Vin Diesel at the end, and it's just a standalone movie. People differ on how they feel about it, but it did its own thing.
Mm. Well, I don't know if the slasher movie craze was in full swing by then. I assume it was. But this movie clearly didn't take any inspiration from slasher films because there's a low body count and we don't see too much violence.
Mm-hmm.
Which is all that this movie really just needed to have a bunch of cool shark kills, which I guess you can only do a couple really with sharks. I mean, it like bites people. Like you can only kind of dance around that a little bit.
I mean, you gotta do the Deep Blue Sea thing where like, it just bites a couple people, but you do it in really creative ways and you change up the setting consistently.
Yeah, and you kill Sam Jackson out of nowhere.
Oh fuck yeah!
Which is the greatest thing ever. But they didn't take advantage. Like the SeaWorld thing is almost incidental, other than you have kind of Louis Gossett Jr. being all like, I won't call, like, but he's supposed to kind of be like the Mayor Vaughn character, but he's kind of just an asshole. Like he doesn't do too much to circumvent what they're doing. There's a little bit, but not a ton.
Everything just kind of happens. The shark just winds up here, and that's not scary. That's not a scary setup, and it's not an exciting one either. It's just, whoops. And there's no cosmic irony to it or anything like that. There's nothing. There's literally nothing to it.
Well, the weirdest thing about this, honestly, is that there's like this whole plot cul-de-sac of they capture a baby great white that they think is the great white. And then they put it in a tank and then it dies. And then they go like, oh no, that was only the baby. Its mother is actually the real shark. But that really doesn't add anything to the film. Like you could have cut all that. Like, is it trying to imply that the shark in this film? I almost called the shark Jaws, like that was its name, which I do often. But is it trying to imply the shark is like vengeful? Because it really doesn't play that up at all. Like it's just there, and it just happened to have a baby. Also, great white sharks aren't known as being great parents. Like, I'm pretty sure they'll eat their young if they stay around them too long.
Fuck.
So, fuck this movie. Not really. I mean, there's moments in it that are, like, laughably... It's mostly entertaining just if you're watching it with friends and you're constantly heckling it. Because the decisions characters make are comical. And then like SeaWorld is just presented in like the worst light imaginable. Like they let an animal die on their watch. And I mean, we wouldn't realize until years later that that's actually how SeaWorld operates. But I mean, to imagine this is like to imagine that a major studio got SeaWorld to like sign off on this and like their logos are everywhere. And then they're portrayed as like a horrible company that puts all their guests in danger.
Yeah, that doesn't happen today.
You don't see that, yeah.
I mean, what was the mentality behind that, other than like, oh, we have sharks exhibits, and then Jaws is a popular series. Like, is that like
I,
that
I,
it?
I literally think that's it. Like SeaWorld is just like, hey, you can promote our parks. And like, there's a morbid fascination with sharks that Jaws spawned. So they're probably like, I mean, fuck, Shark Week is entirely a product of Jaws. Like, people wouldn't be as infatuated with sharks if the Jaws franchise didn't exist. Like, maybe a little bit, but not enough for a whole week.
And the thing is, the movie doesn't even do anything with like you could do this whole subsection about them trying to capture the shark for scientific purposes. I mean, like it's kind of there when they're trying to
Well,
catch it, but not really.
well, if these people were actually marine experts, they would know that you can't keep a great white shark in captivity. They
They're not.
don't. They die, which is what happens in the movie. So someone on the set knew, but apparently none of the characters that are supposed to be experts knew.
Kind of like how in Jurassic World, where they just tell you everyone is like really good at what they do, but then you see them and then you hear them, and it's like the opposite of them being like professional at their jobs.
Yeah. God, every time you mention Jurassic World, I just like sink.
Like you don't think it's too similar to Jaws 3?
No, I do. I just don't like thinking about Jurassic World.
Oh, okay. I'll keep bringing it up then.
The movie is fucking terrible, man.
Chris Pratt or Dennis Quaid's characters. I don't remember either of their names, and I know one of
Um,
them's a Brody kid. I don't remember
Dennis
which one.
Quaid, because at least Chris Pratt wasn't like sexist towards. I mean, at least Dennis Quaid isn't sexist towards anyone
Yeah, that's true.
that I remember. I mean, he might have been a little bit, but he's got a coworker. He's got a female coworker that he's in love with, and he treats her as an equal.
There you go.
So there's one scene where he's all like you shouldn't look at this body. It's too, it'll be too shocking for you, in kind of like a paternally sexist way. But that's kind of a gag on him because then he almost throws up.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my
which
god.
makes this movie's more progressive than Jurassic World, which is shocking.
His reaction to that, like, it is so set up to be a comedy, but it's not
Yeah,
like appropriate at all. So his reaction's so over the top. It's like an old episode of like The Gunslinger or something. Like when someone gets shot and they
yeah.
like fall back like an absurd amount of times.
Mhm.
He's like, whoa, whoa.
Well, but also the body looks goofy too.
Yeah, it
Like
looks like it looks like something out of Life Force.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like literally you could buy it at like a funny costume shop with like horror stuff. And they put bugs in its mouth to kind of make it somewhat gross, but it still just looks like a dummy with bugs on it. And how did bugs get in it? It was in the water.
I feel like the people behind the production of this movie weren't. I don't want to call them like idiots. Or I think they didn't realize that crabs and like underwater life are not the same as like above water wildlife.
Yeah. I don't think
And
anyone knew anything making this film.
oh, those poor people.
I want to talk about the Australian guy who's like a documentarian, I think. I'm a little confused about his character. Like, I thought he was a hunter, but I think he's just a documentarian. And the other people kind of look down on him because they're like, oh, he's, famous. But that's really it. Like, he never does anything awful. Like, he tries to use explosives at one point, but that's about it. And once they tell him don't use it, he goes like, okay. And that eventually gets him killed later in the film, so. But the Australian guy is played by the actor who played Manimal on the show Manimal, which was a show about a detective who could turn into animals. It lasted about 7 episodes.
Is that a recommendation?
Yes. Because Manimal has some hysterical moments in it. One of which is that he turns into a shark at one point.
Hey.
And the episode ends with like this billionaire. I think this is what happens. Like a billionaire thinks he like got away with a crime. And then like some proto Jaws music starts playing. And then you see the fin coming at the guy. And then he's like screams. And then that ends, which implies Manimal ate a guy. And also that he somehow snuck into the pool as a shark. Which means he either snuck in as a human, then turned into a shark, or turned into a shark outside of the pool and then snuck in. I just felt like pointing that out.
What about a Manimal versus Jaws spinoff?
Oh, fuck yeah. That's where this franchise should have gone. Had Manimal been recognized as the classic as it should have been in its day, that's what we would have. The Manimal cinematic universe.
You know what? Sure, that sounds less weird than Jaws: The Revenge.
Yeah.
And still, there's 2 sharks in this movie, and still not a deep blue sea situation where there's a bunch of sharks fucking shit up around a bunch of different characters.
Yeah, I bet that's a product of just them not wanting to build a ton of different sharks.
Lazy motherfuckers.
Yeah. All right, well, this is what happens when you get cheap with your $100 million franchise. You probably could have kept it going for a little bit longer, but nope.
It's like, it's so hard. Like, nowadays, there need to be more, like, action-packed shark movies. I saw 47 Meters Down. I forget if I brought it up on the other episode.
No, you did not.
Okay. And it sucks, but there's a lot of sharks in the movie. But it sucks.
Oh.
So I need a movie to just meet me halfway. Just please.
Well, you know that inevitably they're going to try and remake Jaws.
I feel like they'll just reboot it instead. They're going to do the Jurassic World thing.
I don't know. I hope not.
I mean,
either option is terrible.
Oh, yeah, totally. But I feel they're going to do that because Spielberg feels like he feels like the holy grail of populist filmmaking almost, where like everyone knows who he is or what movies he's made. You know, like he's one of the most commonplace filmmakers, like just in a general sense of like American households or like internationally. It's like everyone knows Jurassic Park, everyone knows of Jaws. Like they feel like they can't be touched almost.
Yeah, but they touched Jurassic Park.
With a reboot, though.
Still. I'm just saying, I feel like... We'll talk about Spielberg's influence on the future of Jaws in the next episode, because there's some interesting details to that. But I just know there's someone's waiting. They're waiting to do Jaws again. And there was rumors they were going to do it... Remember when Piranha 3D came out?
Oh, yeah.
And there was rumors they were going to do... they started talking about another Jaws movie then, but it was going to be more of a comedy. And Tracy Morgan was going to be in it.
I just got a flashback to, like, 30 Rock when the fart machine gag.
Oh, no.
It's farting! It's farting! Go watch 30 Rock, everyone.
Yeah.
It's not the most clever joke I just referenced, but stick with it.
Yeah, there's some brilliant episodes of 30 Rock mixed in with some not brilliant episodes, but whatever.
Yeah, it's like the Tina Fey syndrome. Like some stuff is like really nuanced and complex, and other stuff is like millennials suck.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to Jaws 3.
Yes, back to Jaws 3D. There's dolphins in this movie.
Yes, there are dolphins.
Yeah, and they like there's this whole thing about like them they're always trying to like warn people. Like they won't go out into the lagoon. Which I didn't know SeaWorld did that. I didn't know SeaWorld just let their animals out into a lagoon, like away from their cages. Like, but whatever. Um, and they're always signaling them until like people realize there's a shark, and then they disappear for a lot of the film, and then they just show up at the end like we're supposed to be happy.
And there's a chase sequence where they rescue some of the characters on their backs.
Yeah,
which is not thrilling.
There's a really goofy effect where the shark rams into a cage, and it just looks so stupid, like it just ran into the wall. It's like, duh. Like,
well, speaking of stupid-looking stuff, the shark. I want to go back to how bad it looks because to me, this shot is iconically terrible. Where it's at the end of the movie, and I don't remember if they do it twice because I was drinking on this rewatch for this one. Where the shark comes at the screen and it is clearly just one of those really, really shitty CG composite shots plastered on something else. And they kind of try to make it look bigger as it comes along, and then they kind of open its mouth a little bit to make it look not like still, but it looks fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And then it's the glass shatters. It crashes through a giant glass. But there's no like determining from that point of view where the glass starts because it's just like a wide shot of the shark getting closer. And then the glass shatters, it looks so bad.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be, it's supposed to look like the shark is coming into the theater. And in the scene where it's attacking an underwater facility that I guess SeaWorld has. I didn't realize they had these underwater laboratories. Like, well, that seems so unnecessary. Wouldn't you put your control room above water? But whatever. But yeah, and like they slowed, like the whole scene goes into slow motion. Like they clearly thought this was going to shock people. Like it's like you're fucking make the scene feel more important with your Zack Snyder slowdown.
Oh no, the slow mo here is it's so choppy.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know what? At least Zack Snyder can like compose slow mo well. It's useless, but you know what? He knows how to fucking film it.
Yeah, at least there's like motion. It's not just people staring and then kind of getting up from their chairs and screaming.
Stupid ass movie.
Also, like, there's this room like full of people, and well, the black guy's the only guy killed, and who's also the only helpful person in that control room. But this is not. First of all, like Louis Gossett Jr. is in this movie, who's like the ass, like he's like the bad guy kinda, and he doesn't get killed by the shark, but this other like maintenance worker does. And then at the end, and then this immediately leads into the end of the movie where we are all concerned about whether or not these dolphins lived, but there's a one throwaway line about Louis Gossett Jr. and this other woman like living, which we don't see. For all we know, they drowned. I feel like they did, and that was like added later to like make sure the audience wasn't sad, I guess.
After the first movie, the mentality behind the kills gets really iffy. As in the last one, it has that really mean-spirited kill. It's a good kill, but it's really it's too much. It's too harsh.
Yeah.
And then here, it's like kill off all the wrong people.
Yeah, like everyone who dies, like there's the guy who fucking worked after hours even though he wasn't supposed to. Like that's his sin, is that he just kind of worked off hours. Well, I'm saying the only two people who die that like you could maybe argue deserve it are like the two criminals that are breaking into the park, which is never brought up again. It's literally just a scene. They'll just add more deaths to the film.
And much like Jurassic World, the ideas behind the deaths are absurdly incompetent and ass backwards. Like I don't know if Trevorrow said this specifically, but I remember hearing that. Oh yeah, you expect to see the villain get the gruesome death, so he cut away from that. you don't expect to see an innocent person get tortured for like 5 minutes on the way to like getting eaten whole.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck kind of who says that? Who hurt you? It's too much. And
Well, it's a guy who thinks he's being clever, but he just isn't. I mean, that's basically it. Fuck movies. Fuck everything. I want to point out, back to Jaws 3D, which is what we're supposed to be talking about,
oh yeah, shit.
that they mentioned in this movie that this shark is 35 feet long, which is 10 feet longer than the shark in Jaws. And no great white has ever even come close to 35 feet long. So there's something for it. Like, that's their way of making the shark more intimidating.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just bigger.
the whole movie is that, where it's like they'll show you one thing, they'll tell you like, oh, this is what's really happening, or oh, these people are the real deal at their jobs, they're the real professionals, but then they act like morons.
Yeah.
Oh, the shark's really huge and it's really scary because it's so big. It's basically half a megalodon, and then it's just like not scary at all. And it's just these weird cutouts that they keep cutting to.
Or terrible stock footage
Oh, the worst.
of a fully grown great white that's supposed to be a baby great white. But whatever. Also, this movie doesn't seem to understand how sharks eat. Because the Australian guy, his gruesome death is he gets trapped he gets trapped in a cage with the shark, and it comes after him, and it literally he somehow ends up completely in the shark's mouth, and it starts biting down on him, but the teeth don't bite into him. It's just like the tops and bottoms of the mouth kind of coming down on top of him, like implying that he's crushed to death. But that's not how a shark eats. And then somehow his hand remains stuck in the shark's jaws with a grenade in it.
Oh my!
And that's how the people kill it in the end.
Well, not just that. They have to maneuver like a 10-foot long pole into the mouth of the shark and pull the pin.
Yeah.
And then swim away to safety.
And also the shark eats another person in between, so that didn't knock any of the other body parts loose, I guess.
Oh, and then when the shark blows up and it's just the most half-assed 3D effect ever.
Yeah, the jaws come. Get it? Jaws!
So stupid.
Fucking
It's
movie.
like little chunks, but they don't even fly like directly at the screen. It's like they kind of fly around the center of the screen.
And then the two jaws bits just hang there.
Yeah. It's like, hey.
And there's like a half a second shot of the shark trying to get into this control room that's stop motion. I think it's the only stop motion in this movie. And that looks better than all the other effects. But it's only like 2 seconds.
Oh, what the fuck?
So, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a terrible movie, but it's not like, it doesn't make anyone angry. It's just like, yeah, you fucked up, kid.
Yeah, none of these really make me angry because they really just shouldn't exist. I mean, there's no point, but they also don't like go back and like rewrite the history of Jaws in any way.
Well, Jaws 4 has things that make me very unhappy.
Well, Jaws 4 introduces all this weird shit that we'll get into, but like the only character it could have the character it comes closest to ruining isn't even in the film, and that helps it. So we'll get to that.
On the last episode, we were talking about how the original idea for Jaws 2 was that Quint and Brody's kids were gonna hunt a shark together, or something or other. And you mentioned that, like, oh yeah, monster movies do this all the time. They'll cut ahead like 15 years, and they'll follow like characters through this yada yada, and there'll be a big time jump.
Yeah,
that's basically what happens in Jaws 3. Just
Brody. Well, between all of these movies, the kids age way too quickly. Like even between Jaws 1 and 2, the kids are much older.
Mm-hmm.
in the second one, and it's only like 3 years later. So I don't know. It's bizarre. I just don't get the idea why they kept feeling like they needed to include these fucking kids.
Well, the Brodies are such great characters. I could see why they think people go to the Jaws movies for the characters. I mean, you go to Jaws because everything about it is so like perfectly handled.
Yeah.
But not everyone's a Spielberg, and that clearly shows in the sequels. So
Oh yeah.
it's so weird. Just do standalone Jaws movies. They should have done
You
like
just
standalone little horror movies.
you just take it to different locations with completely original characters and make them fucking more interesting than these fuckers. Like the whole first half of this movie is front loaded with scenes of like these characters just hanging out, and it's supposed to like make them rounded characters, I guess, but it's just boring.
Because it's filmed in we brought this up in Jaws too, of course, a really flat like TV style look, like shot reverse shot.
Yeah.
They don't tell you anything about the characters, even down to the dialogue. You're not learning anything about anyone, especially nothing that impacts the rest of the movie.
Mm. We only learn that Sean is kind of afraid of the water, understandably, because in Jaws 2 he saw that woman eaten alive right in front of him.
Yeah, that might have impacted him negatively.
Yeah, and his girlfriend, who he has for like 2 minutes in this movie, who's like a performer at SeaWorld. I think they were trying to set her up to be like, like, pardon my language, but the slutty character. Like, that gets her comeuppance in like these shitty slasher movies.
Oh yeah, where if you have sex, sinner, so you die.
But for one, she only gets slightly injured, and two, like the most radical thing she does is ride bumper boats. And they make out in the park when it's closed. They're kind of like not totally naked, but they're a little naked in a closed park. And that's about it. Like
Call
she
that
suggests
risque.
Yeah, she suggests going on the bumper boats, and it's like, bumper boats? This woman's crazy. It's so weird. Like, everyone's done bumper boats. If you've been to a fucking shitty state fair, you've been on some bumper boats.
That's fucking ridiculous. Oh, okay, this is what I wanted to bring up. There's a sequence when the Jaws, or with a shark, whatever the fuck,
In the Jaws.
gets into the park, and
we should just call the shark Jaws.
Yeah. Every shark in every Jaws movie is just Jaws again.
Yeah.
They're going through these routines on the water, these jet ski things, and they're putting on the show, and then a shark gets in there, the shark, and no one dies.
Yeah.
Not a single person dies.
And not a single performer ever gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're constantly showing them in danger. There's a lot of like bullshit moments where they don't realize they're in danger, but we see from the shark's point of view, which is trying to do, what the Jaws films did and just failing. But yeah, maybe that was a stipulation from SeaWorld. Like, you can't show any of her employees get hurt on the job.
Then cut to the Australian guy getting eaten by a fucking shark.
Yeah, but he wasn't an employee. He was just a documentarian.
Yeah, like the death is still bad. It's like, okay, not our employees though. Anyone else can go, like, however.
Yeah. Or the maintenance worker, I guess. So I guess if you're blue collar, you can fucking fuck off and die. I also want to talk about the Undersea Kingdom subplot in this movie, where there's like all these underwater, which is again like a good setup for something. The Deep Blue Sea would kind of take advantage of a little later, where they're actually underwater.
Fuck yeah.
It's more elaborate than any fucking marine exhibit I've ever seen, though. There's like tentacles that come out and grab people and shit. I understand why. And they have like a mermaid sitting out. Like you can totally see SeaWorld's influence because like there's a woman dressed as a mermaid out front being like, "Welcome to the Undersea Kingdom." It's almost like an Adam Sandler movie
Oh,
where they'll just be
God.
like, "Welcome to the Carnival Cruise," and then just show the cruise for like 2 minutes. But Jaws rams the tunnels and floods it a little bit. Also, there's a father in that scene who is in like a red shirt with overalls. And he looks so fucking dumb. I don't know why they let like he's in the frame. Like he's distractingly stupid looking. And he's not an employee. Like it'd be one thing if he was an employee, but he's just like a parent that's there with his kid. Anyway, they all get trapped. I was so distracted by the overalls guy. They all get trapped, and then it becomes like a race against time to like get these people out. And I guess that sets up the climax of the film, which is that we have to trap the shark, but then that doesn't really work. But they weld something to the side of the tunnels, and it lets all the water out.
Thrilling. Absolutely thrilling.
Yeah. It's also thrilling when there's characters that we don't know or care about trapped in these tunnels.
Hell yeah.
Fuck, I would have just rather seen them all die. Like, go fucking Poseidon Adventure and just kill everyone. That would have been better. But I guess SeaWorld also doesn't want to show that.
Oh yeah, this futuristic exhibit that we want to start premiering. Oh, everyone also dies there though. So
Yeah. Yeah, just show the bumper boats more. No one will get mad if we show the bumper boats fucking up.
And
I just imagine like these.
I just want to go back to this fucking. The one part that like actively frustrates me is just that the shark doesn't kill any of their performers, and it's like it's another perfect sequence to just like add a bunch of more sharks, and then just start killing everyone. Could
have been actually entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with this movie is that it looks like an educational video most of the time. Like, it's really, there's nothing dynamic about any of the shots in this movie.
It looks like shit.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I don't want to shit on Joe Alves too much because I think he's still alive. I don't want him somehow finding this. And because, I mean, he's got a great history with Jaws. He did a lot of this work on the shark that didn't work. So maybe I should criticize him more, but he always seems like a nice guy in interviews. Yeah, he did. He just wasn't. He did TV work, but you know that doesn't translate to a movie unless you're Steven Spielberg, I guess. There are a lot of good TV. Now we're seeing it more with TV directors jumping the film because TV's now actually gotten really good. But back in the day, I mean, even if you watch like Spielberg's TV work, it's still very television. There's only a hint at Spielberg and all that shit. Because television just wasn't that complicated then. Because it wasn't meant to be. It was about just getting this shit shot as quickly as possible.
Oh, you know who had a cool like reverse of that when they went from film to television? Or I don't know if they started in film and went to television. Oh fuck, who's the guy who did all the Lost season finales?
Oh, I don't know that shit.
Oh no, he's such a good TV director, and the only movie I think he made was Child's Play 3. Yeah.
Ooh.
Which has some interesting visual stuff, but his TV
you know what?
work,
Child's Play 3 is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And
it might be the weakest Child's Play movie, but
yeah, it's a good time. And that guy fucking owns with his TV work. But
hey, good for him.
He should have done a Jaws movie.
No.
Oh, okay. I mean, like, put him on this. At least we more.
Put anyone who has skill on this. I mean, that's really the problem with all of these Jaws sequels is that they got directors that really just weren't skilled. And they got people who could like try and imitate Spielberg, but if you're not Spielberg, you can't do it. I mean, that always sounds like a dick thing to say, but it's just kind of true. Like, unless you're Steven Spielberg, don't try and be Steven fucking Spielberg. You're not Steven Spielberg, Colin Trevorrow.
Well, I think Book of Henry will surprise you.
I'm hoping like Spielberg pushes Colin Trevorrow off a cliff.
Wow.
That he's just so insulted, but Spielberg likes making money, so.
Have you heard that theory that it's totally not true, but like Spielberg he's recruiting all the people that like are trying to like ape his style under his wing, like people like J.J. Abrams, although Abrams kind of got away from it and totally doing his own thing. He's trying to like get them all under his wing and is like sabotaging them from doing anything like noteworthy.
Well, I made that joke.
Oh, was that you? Oh, fuck.
A couple of years ago, I made that joke about like how many next Spielbergs has Spielberg lived through.
Oh, okay. Well, no, then I didn't hear that from you, but still.
Well, what happened was I posted that, and then it started that conversation of like, you know, he's just getting behind JJ just so he can stab him in the back. I think I made the joke because I saw that old Time cover of M. Night Shyamalan where it said the next Spielberg ?
Oh my God, yeah.
And it was like literally right before he started sabotaging his own career. So yeah, like there's been a ton of, I mean, Rennie Harlin at one point was called the next Spielberg.
What?
And you know what? And Spielberg had a meeting with him, so that might have Spielberg met with him, so maybe Spielberg did sabotage him. Maybe Spielberg's got like some magic powers. He can just curse everyone, curse all the next Spielbergs.
He had like a blood ritual and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what else is there to say about Jaws 3? I don't really have anything else other than the final shot is hilarious and the shark exploding is still the shark exploding, but
yeah,
funnier this time.
Yeah, there's not really much. If you're going to watch this movie, watch it with friends and just heckle it. Because that's really the only way you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. Terrible, but not offensively terrible. Just like, man, what happened here? Like, and then just look at the quality, like even down to the way like everything looks. How much worse it goes. Jaws 2, okay, whatever. It looks kind of boring, but from that to this, like even the film quality feels there's a cheapness to it, but it's more expensive than the previous two.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, like this really does look like a TV movie, like from that era. I mean, and then Jaws 4. I mean, holy shit. It's kind of unbelievable, but we'll get into that.
I will say there's AMC released like an upgraded version, like an HD version of that, and that was the first version of that I saw, and it looks pretty good. I mean, it makes everything that like production wise that's shitty look shittier, but just the quality of it looked nicer. I didn't realize. The original version looked fucking awful.
Oh yeah, but the cleaner versions also make it pretty clear that they're shooting in a water tank.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like with a painted sky. We'll get to that. It's gonna be a fun ride.
That one I could talk about Jaws 4 for a long ass time. 2 and 3, I struggle a little bit.
Yeah, we're kind of just passing through it because we got to, but we're getting to Jaws. We're getting to Jaws: The Revenge, which is an unbelievable film
with the best tagline ever.
Yeah, this time it's personal.
Oh yeah. All right. I'm gonna spitball this. If you had someone, they're not remaking Jaws, but they're remaking Jaws 3D. What creative vision do you trap in this hellhole?
Well, I would definitely make it a comedy, and I would get Joe Dante. Fuck it. I mean, that's about it. Or you know who might have been good? John Landis. Although John Landis did another third film. He did Beverly Hills Cop 3, which was also set in an amusement park. So maybe I'm wrong on that.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about that movie. Oh, no.
Beverly Hills Cop versus Jaws.
Dun, 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 dun,
Axel Foley.
But then it segues into the Jaws theme.
He's putting a banana in the oxygen tank.
Oh fuck! All right, last thoughts on Jaws 3.
Fuck it.
Yeah, yeah. fuck Jaws 3. But it's not a hateful fuck. It's just like you could have done fun.
Unless you're a completist, you don't need to see it.
Yeah.
Even if you're a monster movie fan, it's not really one to seek out.
Yeah, you're better off with Jurassic World, am I right? Am I right, Matt?
Thanks, everyone. I'm about to murder Diego.
Before you do that, Matt, where can the people find you?
Find me at Emperor OTN or on the local news for murder.
You can find me on Twitter at DEWGO Waffles, President Diego. Check out the latest episodes of the Waffle Press podcast, Real Film Chatter. Check out some writing I've done. By the time this is up, there'll be a bunch of pieces I did for Spider-Man and Spider-Man Homecoming, or at least in honor of the movie's release. I didn't get to go to another screening of it. I'm not upset about that at all.
You think they heard you talking shit about the other ones?
Yeah. Like, subscribe if you like this video. If you didn't like, subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. Wrapping up our Jaws retrospective for Shark Week at the time of release tomorrow for Jaws: The Revenge. Basically, in many ways, my second favorite Jaws movie to talk about.
Yeah, in a
Definitely
way.
not in quality, but
this time it's personal.
In 1975, he became Hollywood's biggest star. And in 1978, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, he resurfaced. This summer, for the first time, the terror of Jaws will not stop at the edge of the screen. The all-new Jaws 3D, rated PG. Now playing at a theater near you.